Hi, and welcome everyone. This is attorney Arkady Frekhtman. I'm a New York City personal injury trial attorney. And welcome to Last Week Tonight, where we look at all of your comments for the last week and we talk about your questions, your feedback, your comments. It's all about you, the viewer, on this episode. So let's get into it. Here's the most recent comment on our channel, and it is from Louis Schaefer, and he says, "You're the best." Oh, thank you, Louis. That's awesome. And Linda gives us a heart, and Marshall says, "I got hit by a car, and the woman left the scene. I'm going through therapy for my knee, and I have been getting bad headaches. What do you think the claim can be?" Okay, so what I would recommend is, make sure you get your medical care. When I say medical care, I mean, go to the ambulance or emergency room or urgent care right away. Then start with a physical therapy office. A lot of cities will have a physical therapy office or a chiropractor office that will kind of quarterback your care, meaning they'll give you physical therapy, they'll have doctors, they'll have neurologists, they'll refer you for MRIs, which is very essential because that gives you a diagnosis of what your injury is. If you're just getting adjustments and you don't have any diagnosis, it's not going to be enough to get substantial money. And then just keep getting your medical care. And then, the fact that they left the scene, that's a crime in most places. You're not supposed to do that. But if you got their plate, you could still sue them. Your attorney runs a search, you find out who the owner is, you sue the owner, you find out later through discovery who the driver was at the time, and then you sue the owner and the driver, and the insurance is still gonna cover them. Now, if they fled the scene and you didn't get their plate, then it becomes against uninsured motorist against your own insurance. But either way, you can have a case. So yeah, I think that's a good case. And in terms of, how much it's worth, it just depends on what your injuries will be. But it seems like liability, sounds like it's not your fault because you got hit, the person ran. So yeah, I think the most important thing in a case like that is medical care. So make sure you get the right medical care. And then Frankie asks, "I have the same issues shown in the MRI, white matter changes. My lawyer doesn't seem professional, but I've seen my neurologist and he did some testing. He's seen some abnormalities in the egg brain test he ordered, an MRI, and I already have an MRI, which I did 4 months ago because the neurologist or the neurological symptoms are something else. You always feel sick, the whole body, tension, muscle pain, eye pain, tremors, muscle twitching, tingling in both legs." And so, yeah, the traumatic brain injury is a terrible injury, ringing in the ears. And he says he's scared that one part, because he's dealing with so much with his health and the lower back, shoulder injury and surgery, and he's trying to still heal from it. And his other thing, which is his head, is dealing with how will my lawyer handle my case? There is a lack of communication already, but what he says is, you have a very strong case and everything is fine, but I don't know. I'm 31 years old and I've never even been to a hospital in my life since after this accident. I visited the emergency room multiple times. I have mood changes and it's like nothing is the same anymore. Yeah, I mean, I'm really sorry to hear that. That's what happens after a traumatic brain injury, right? That you become a different person. That's why some of the closing arguments, I don't know if they did it in this case, but I've seen some of the lawyers talk about, the person you see in the mirror is not the same person you were before. Or even one time the lawyer mentioned in his opening statement, the person who walked into the store, I think something fell, like a heavy metal box on the guy's head. And he said the person who walked into the store was not the same man as the person that walked out after the heavy metal box fell on his head. And then that one, I think, settled also for a lot of money. But if you're having these issues with your lawyer, like the lawyer's not responding to you, you're not having, if you think they're not professional, just, reach out to me. Just text me, 347-566-9595. I'm happy to have a chat. If you wanted to, I could even research the lawyer and send you back their verdicts, their settlements that they've had in the past, and then you can make your own decision. Maybe they are good for a TBI case and you stay with them. Maybe, if they're not good, if there's some kind of issue, I could recommend somebody who is a traumatic brain injury specialist as an attorney and then you can do a consultation with them. And then ultimately, it's up to you and your family. If you feel like the person I recommend maybe is better, you could use them. It's ultimately, it's like freedom of choice. It's up to you. But that's an important decision. So with traumatic brain injury, there aren't that many lawyers that know how to handle it from A to Z. It is very complicated. And you can even see by watching this trial that you watched, the CBN, that like one of the lawyers for the plaintiff, he was a real specialist in traumatic brain injury. He was calling doctors about the eye injury, about convergence insufficiency, about all of these symptoms. He called a neurologist, he had a neuroradiologist, he had a neuropsychologist, and then the other side kind of just tried to downplay it and say like, oh, it's not brain injury, but they didn't really have a true understanding of brain injury. And then when they called their experts, they just kind of said, no, it's not brain injury. But then when this lawyer cross-examined them, he kind of like destroyed them. But see, that you need that kind of lawyer. It's a lot of work. It's like being able to climb, like Mount Everest, right? Not everybody can do it. But if you have this task ahead of you, if you have to climb Mount Everest, you want to get the guy who's been up there at the top like over and over again and has been successful. So I'm happy to help you with that, and I could recommend someone. Just text me 347-566-9595. Here's a question from Mukhtara Fanar. Hi sir, 2 years ago I had an L3 L4 as well as an L4 L5 fusion surgery. So that's two different levels, right? L3, L4 is one, L4, L5 is the other. Due to an Amazon Prime truck accident in New Jersey, the lawyer submitted all the doctors, police, and expert reports to the court 4 weeks ago. I was a truck driver too. So how long and how much will it take to settle this case? Thank you. Right, so that's a good question. I mean, I'm not sure I could answer it just based on what you said. Now, if it's an Amazon truck, they're going to have a lot of coverage. You want to make sure you know how to, kind of like sue Amazon as well. Because sometimes what Amazon does is they say, that's not us, that's a delivery service partner, they're an independent contractor. But there's a lot of case law that Amazon retains control, and they have like GPS, they monitor, they really the ones who call the shots. And so if you can sue Amazon as well as the delivery service partner, then you have more coverage. But with the two-level fusion in New Jersey, it could be a multi-million-dollar case for sure. And if the lawyer submitted doctor's reports, police reports, and expert reports to the court, it sounds like you're in discovery, but you also have to think about whether you have had your deposition, right? Have they questioned you? Has your lawyer already questioned all of the Amazon witnesses, including the truck driver who hit you, but also the corporate representative in something known as a 30B6 deposition? That's vital too, because then you get their official positions on certain issues like safety, and then those can be their official position of Amazon, and you could use it against them in the case. So I would do all that, and then once discovery is over, you put it on the trial calendar, and it's just up to the court as to whether they schedule like a mediation, pre-trial conference. The case could settle, or if it doesn't settle, then you have to wait for the trial. But New Jersey, I believe, is pretty quick. It's faster than New York. I don't know, what area of New Jersey. I'd have some more questions for you, and the date of your incident, things like that. But again, if you needed a consultation, just text me. It's 347-566-9595. And Ferrets and Birds says, I got sideswiped by an 18-wheeler today in California. The truck driver was a Mexican national with Texas-based insurance. My dash cam proves the truck made a sudden lane change into my lane without signaling. I just want my car fixed, but their insurance seems to be dragging their feet. What do I do? Okay, so yeah, I mean, I'm not too familiar with, if you just want your car fixed, I guess you have to either use your insurance if you have collision coverage, or have your insurance coordinate with the truck and have them pay. But if they're dragging their feet, if they're not responding, I guess you could file like a small claims court if it's just property damage. Now, if you have any symptoms like injuries, what I would do is I would recommend contacting a local personal injury lawyer. And then what they would do is they would set you up with like medical care. You get medical care once or twice a week, and then they could help you with everything, right? You would have the bodily injury, which is a big amount, and then you would also have the property damage, which is the smaller amount, but you would do both. And cases against trucks are usually strong cases because they usually have at least, 750,000 to 1 million, usually 1 million or more in insurance. So you could feel free to reach out as well. Just text me 347-566-9595. I'm happy to help. And then author says, delay of care led to medical negligence and ultimately death. Okay, so yeah, that's a negligence case. Let me see what the question is. Would this be a case only worth 100,000 with 80,000 in medical expert opinions, leaving the case unworthy to represent? With this death and punitive damage and pain against family, is this a minimal compensation for a retired teacher who received a proclamation from the city of Rochester and was the matriarch of the family not be worth high six figures? No, I mean, I don't think so. I think it could be worth a lot. It could be worth many, many millions, right? That's the difference between like my opinions and a lot of the other opinions. A lot of the lawyers just think, oh, if you're older, if you're 70, it's not worth anything, right? But I think that it's really about the story that you're able to tell and how you frame the case. So if it's prepared properly, and if you have witnesses like family members, friends, coworkers, talk about the person's life, and if you really have a good expert to show, hey, there was medical negligence, the standard is here, and you fell below the standard, you committed medical negligence and it was medical malpractice, then you have the mistake, you have the fact that the mistake is what led to, has to be a substantial factor in causing the injury or the death, and then you have the overall value. So there are ways to like increase the value of wrongful death cases. Unfortunately, in New York, we don't have a wrongful death law. They're trying to pass it, but the governor keeps vetoing it. So we have the antiquated law back from like the 1800s, where you're kind of limited to pecuniary loss, but you could still sue for pre-death, like pre-impact terror. I don't know if that would be applicable here because this is medical malpractice, but like in a car crash, you could sue for pre-impact terror, like fear of impending death. You could also sue for pre-death pain and suffering. You could sue for loss of parental guidance, which could be a big case if somebody has, many kids. Each child could sue for loss of parental guidance, and there are certain factors that go under that. And then there's also the pecuniary losses. But I really think it shouldn't be just monetary. I think it should be more holistic like other states. So hopefully we get that changed. But yeah, this is like a really long comment, so I wouldn't be like able to read something like this on the channel. But what you should do is also just text me and we could do a consult. And Zehanu Rahman says, thank you, Arkady, for doing all this hard work for us. You are the only lawyer out there doing this free of charge to help the injured. That means a lot. No, you're very welcome. I'm happy to help. That's what it's all about. And Kirk Campbell says, this guy's the best. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And Hawk Blue says, hello, Arkady. Can you talk about personal injury for permanent perineal nerve damage called or known as a foot drop and a multi-ligament tear, as well as a knee dislocation and an artery bypass? Are those injuries serious? Oh yeah, I mean, of course, those are very serious. A foot drop means like you can't use your foot. So it's like a very serious, you're having permanent nerve damage to the foot. Now, multi-ligament tears are just, torn ligaments, which can sometimes be repaired by surgery, but that's also serious. And then a knee dislocation, an artery bypass, as long as you can show, that's very serious, that's a heart surgery, as long as you can show that that is, caused by the incident, whether it's the fall or the crash, as long as it's traumatically related, that could be a huge case. That could be multi-million-dollar case. So yeah, something like that, just text me, 347-566-9595. It's better to do a consultation. If you needed me to do a verdict search on some of these, I could also do that in another video. I'm happy to do a verdict search. I don't know if there's going to be any cases with all those injuries, but maybe we could do them one by one. But I know foot drop, there should be a bunch of cases for foot drop. And then Little Bit responds to my video, what is this case worth? And this is a video I did years ago where I was skiing, and I actually did it in the mountains. And she says, I love to ski. I realized this was over a year ago. I hope you had a blast. So I was saying, yeah, skiing is an example of an activity that an injured person could love to do, which is taken away due to the negligence of a corporation or defendant, right? So that's the idea, right? About loss of enjoyment of life or activities of daily living or pain and suffering. So there could be something like you love to ski and now you can't ski, so you don't ski at all. Or there could also be you were a certain type of skier, you could ski like, say, black diamond, steep, or moguls, or different types of powder, and you went out there and it was like hiking and skiing, and now you could still maybe do it because of your injuries, but not as well. So the experience of skiing is completely changed, where before it was pleasurable and you love being out there in nature and making your own tracks, looking at the snow. And now you could still do it, but much less. Instead of skiing for 5 hours, you could ski maybe barely for half an hour. You're in pain, and then you're just not enjoying it anymore. So that's always something you should consider. There's something you cannot do. There's something you can still do, but not as well as before. And then there's the experience of doing. And if the experience is completely different, that goes to your quality of life. Frankie says, Arkady, my lawyer just told me we had to refile the case because of 2 of the defendants died. And don't know what happened. I'm in the case since 1 year. Does this impact my case? Does their insurance company still pay for the damages if there any difference? Yeah, so it just delays the case. What happens is if you sue someone and then they die, obviously you can't sue a dead person, so the case gets stayed and there's like a moratorium on the case, and then you have to appoint a representative to be a representative of the estate. So if it's a defendant, the problem is you as a plaintiff, right, and your lawyer, you don't know these people. They're strangers. They're just people that you happen to sue because they were negligent, a driver of a car, whatever. So their family has to then appoint an administrator of the estate for the decedent, to the person who died. And if they don't do it, you could file a motion to appoint someone, but you don't really have what's known as like privity or connection to them. So sometimes it gets very, very delayed. You have to wait, like sometimes in New York, you could even wait like a year, something like that. I mean, there are surrogates lawyers and trusts and estate lawyers you can consult with, and they'll help try to speed up the process. Like we work with some of those, but unfortunately it just delays the case. But it does happen, like anything, it happens, and it doesn't kill the case, it doesn't lower the value, so that's good. Andre, I got bulging discs, lumbar 2, 3, 4, 5 from working at my job for 8 years. I have arthritis in my back and hip from my job. Also, my job's trying to get rid of me. They stopped putting money in my 401k. I'm on disability. They don't want to pay me. Help. Yeah, so just reach out to me. You could text me. I'm happy to help. I don't know where you are, what city. I know a few employment lawyers, so I could recommend an employment lawyer. And if you need a workers' comp lawyer for the job injury, I could maybe recommend one of those as well. Let's see what other questions we have here. Jorge says, excellent content. If a person is receiving physical therapy and chiropractic during a personal injury claim in New York City, and if this person suffers a neck injury after an adjustment and hurts days later, should I let my attorney know, and will that hurt their claim? No, it doesn't hurt your claim. So basically it actually helps your claim. So you have treatment, let's say with the physical therapy and chiropractic, and then during the treatment you suffered a neck injury, right? Because the adjustment didn't go the right way. So that's what you do is that's considered natural sequelae. So what that means is it naturally flows from the initial incident. So whatever your case is, maybe you're getting chiropractic for like a car crash, trip and fall, whatever the underlying case is, just this is additional damage that you can now recover for that case. You don't have to, I mean, you could, if you wanted to, sue the chiropractor for doing a bad adjustment, but that would be like a medical malpractice case. Very, very hard. You probably lose or they won't pay, but you don't need to do that, right? All the damages, all the injuries that you got from the bad adjustment where you got hurt can then flow to the original car accident case, whatever you were there, because it's considered foreseeable that something like this may happen. It's right in the pattern jury instructions. So as long as you have a good trial attorney, they'll know how to handle that. And it's pretty straightforward. Okay, and then Charles is here. Charles says, if you file for a motion for summary judgment, can the plaintiff's attorney add that to one of the counts against the defense, or is it filed separately? So yeah, so a motion for summary judgment is not like a count or a claim, right? Counts or claims go in the complaint, in the lawsuit. A motion for summary judgment is basically a motion where you submit evidence like affidavits, and you're basically saying There's no issue of fact to be decided by a jury. There's no question of fact. Everything should be decided as a matter of law. For example, if someone is stopped at a red light and they're stopped and they testified, I've been stopped for 20 seconds, the light has been red, and I have my hands on the steering wheel, I'm just waiting for the light to turn green, and someone else rear ends me. Well, why go to trial on something like that, right? If everybody agrees, there's a video, there's substantial proof, this was a rear end and somebody was stopped, why go to trial? Why do you need a jury to decide? There's no question to decide. It's obvious who's at fault and who's not at fault. So that's a prima facie evidence of summary judgment. So I think you're confusing summary judgment, which is a motion you make and you get like a judgment by submitting evidence. But summary judgment is like a mini trial. It's just a trial with the papers usually, although they can have oral argument too on the motion. You're confusing that with the lawsuit. In the lawsuit, you have claims or counts. Jumbo Jimbo asks, good morning, Mr. Arkady. Should I sign a settlement agreement even if I don't know exactly what is going into my account, or is it wise to wait until my attorney knows the amount that will go into my account before signing any agreement? Yeah, I think it's best to know the amount, because then you know exactly what it is. You can't get surprised because, the attorney could try to take too many expenses. You could have too much of a legal fee. There also could be issues with liens. And then the lien that you owe, let's say to a funding company or to a doctor, could be so high, and you think you're getting, let's say, you settle for like 100,000, you think you're getting like close to 70, and in reality you're only getting like 30. So it could be a really big difference. So it's better to find everything out before you sign. And Chris says, what happens in a lawsuit when your lawyer cannot get the other party served? Will that affect my case? Well, you do have to serve them, but if you can't serve them, sometimes what you could do is you could file a motion for substituted service on the insurance company. Like, for example, if a defendant, like an owner of a car, moves out of the country, there's just no way to serve them. There are procedures for that, so I would speak to your lawyer. Here's a question from Victoria. She says, hello, I watch so many of your videos, but I haven't heard much about tongue injuries. I was rear-ended by a semi. I have a tongue injury from biting my tongue. Surgery, speech therapy, still have issues. Couldn't eat for months and was trying to breastfeed at the same time after the accident. I also have shoulder issues, break, etc. But the tongue is what I can't find any info on. The tongue. Most are dentist issues. Any verdicts you see? And she says it's a tongue laceration and it was corrected with surgery, and now it's speech therapy and lots of pain. So yeah, you could also text me, because I don't know how many other people are gonna have tongue injuries. It's kind of a rare injury. So maybe just text me and we could do it as a consultation, 347-566-9595. And she says, thank you for all your help and what you do. Oh, thank you. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Okay, everyone, please like and subscribe to our channel. Let us know what questions you have. Let us know what videos you want to see. And, we are here for you. Our goal is really helping serious injury victims and families. It's all about you guys. So text me, call me, chat, and interact on our channel. All the best, everyone. Stay safe out there. And if you have a case, I wish you get full justice on your case. Okay, bye-bye.